I'm Taiwo, and this is Medical Experts in Football.
Working as a regular sports medicine doctor, you may live a really regular life, working from Monday to Friday and then a couple of days off. Working with the professional teams, you know that your life is committed almost entirely to the teams. That's a sacrifice you gotta be ready to make. You gotta be there 24/7, and that you almost have no days off. They may call you day and night.
That's Daniele Mozzone. He's a sports medicine physician for the First Division football club Torino F.C. in the Serie A league. Growing up in Turin, Italy, what are
Yes.
some of your favorite childhood memories?
I've been living in the same neighborhood since I was born, and I went to the elementary school, then the secondary school, then the high school, all within 10 minutes of my house. And so all my childhood developed in the same spot. Turin is pretty close to the mountains. It's pretty close to the seaside. So it's very easy to change environment. And when you want to go skiing, you can go. It's just 45 minutes ride by car. And if you want to go to the seaside, it's just an hour and a half. So it's everything pretty close. And so one of the best thing was stay with my mountain friends, and then switch and go to the seaside and meet my sea friends. And it's not like in the States where just to go to the supermarket you have to ride for a couple of hours by car. So in Italy, it's everything. Well, everything is very close. And then Turin is pretty close to France, to Switzerland. So when you want to go abroad, you can go there by car, by train, and it doesn't take long. My best childhood experience were during the vacations, because you have Sardinia as well, pretty close. And my parents had like a little house in Sardinia where we went with our cousins and friends. And so it's traveling the best I did.
So that city, Sardinia, what was special about it?
Sardinia is one of the two islands of Italy, which is a big island. And we had this home on the hills, and it was like living in the countryside. It was not near the sea, and so you could ride horses and stay with your cousins and go hiking, and you could live like a very simple life. It's a little bit like living in the Amish county in Pennsylvania, where Amishes live. So it's the community of Amish that they live a very easy, very, very simple kind of life, which is very, very nice though.
So what's a nice spot if someone has never been to Italy, they want to really enjoy the outdoor scenery? Where would you take them?
I would take them to Tuscany. Tuscany is well known just for Florence, where thousands of American people go every year. Florence is the capital of Tuscany, which is the region. But Tuscany has really beautiful spots on the hills where there are ancient castles and ancient towns from the Middle Age, which are still very, very nice to visit. I don't know, not many people go there, I think, because when you come from the States, you go and visit the main cities, the cities the most, that is like Florence, like Rome, like Venice. But Italy has so many beautiful places that it's the base of our let's say, to come and visit something different from Venice and from Florence. It's something totally new. And Turin as well, it is not very well known in the States. I mean, we had the Olympic Winter Games in 2006, and that's probably the reason why some people in the States know Turin. It's far from, it's not that far, but it's pretty close to Milan, but it's not Milan. It's pretty far from Rome. And so it's not a place where many people come if they come and visit from the States.
I see. So before I talk about soccer, I'm a food junkie and I love Italian food. What is your favorite food?
Well, my favorite food is pasta alla carbonara. I don't want to be cliche because I think when when I used to spend time with American people, they always poke fun at me because I could eat pasta twice a day, while most of you like have it, I don't know, once a week. And it is not a stereotype that Italian people can eat a lot of pasta.
Why is that? Is it because there's just a surplus amount or what?
Well, it's like a part of our culture, food pyramid, and so and then we can use different toppings, and so there's almost never a pasta like the other one. You may think it's always pasta, but we may. I mean, there are so many ingredients you can use and different ways to prepare pasta that is always different. I mean, we don't get bored.
Well, what's the way you prepare your pasta most often?
Let's say that the most common way is using the Parmesan, which is like a
Cheese.
seasoned cheese we have, and then we're with olive oil that we use a lot, and then with tomato sauce. So that's the pasta al sugo, the tomato sauce pasta, which is the most common way to prepare the pasta. And then, like I was saying, the carbonara is made with eggs and bacon and parmesan, and it's delicious.
So you've been to the States, and we're going to talk about this later on, but would you say that the Italian food in the States is similar to what you have out there?
It has nothing to do. That's the reason why when I came to the States, I never had anything Italian. I mean, that's one of when I go abroad, I never go to Italian places because I'm always in Italy. I don't want to try Italian things. When I try them abroad, they always let me down. So it doesn't make sense for me to go to an Italian restaurant to find people that are not Italian cooking the foods.
That's fair.
And
So let's talk about football, soccer here, which is what we call it in America. That is a major sport in Italy, but you played basketball. How did you dodge playing football growing up?
well, my friends tried to push me and play soccer, but
Mhm.
I don't know why. But you may like football and not like volleyball, and I like basketball and I didn't like soccer. So I mean, when we were in the playground, they always used to play soccer, and I had to play it, but I didn't like it that much. And so as soon as I could, I just flew into basketball, and I spent there most of my sport career. I just came across soccer almost random
Yeah, we're
because
going to get to that because you're the first team doctor for one of the first division teams in the Serie A, which is quite
yeah.
interesting that you didn't have an interest in soccer. But before we get there, I want to find out, how did you develop an interest in sports medicine?
Well, first of all, I developed an interest in medicine. I mean, since I was a kid, I wanted to become a doctor. When I went to the high school, I went to like the scientific high school we have here in Italy, which is the Scientific Lyceum, which is a high school focused on scientific topics. And then when I finished the high school, it's not like in the States where you have like a prep school and 2 years of like biology or chemistry, and then you have med school. When you're out of the high school, you have an entry test, and then you go straight into med school, which is 6 years. And then you have 4 more years for the specialization. You get this first degree, which is medicine and surgery, and then you go and specialize into one topic. I've always been into sports,
What do you find fulfilling?
both the environment, which is a very young environment, very athletic, very like dynamic environment, with the fact that you really help the athletes because most of people like conceive medicine like helping the elders or the people who are very sick, and that's obviously the main thing that medicine does. But athletes are a category of persons, well, of athletes that has many problems, and they live the sport, especially when they are professionals, with all their heart. Well, sport is their life, and so it's the most important thing to them. And when something happens to them, for like an injury or whatever, it's a tragedy for them. So having a sport physician that helps them, it's necessary. It's something they appreciate very much. Something that really fulfills what you're what you want to do. I mean, you're glad to do that because you know that the athlete will appreciate it very much, and that you are really helping him. It's like helping patients, because at the end, injured players are always like patients, even though the setting is not a hospital, it's not a clinic, it's not the emergency room, but they may have big health issues. So you're there to help them, and you can live their life also, because you're always with the team, you participate in the practices, in the games. So you really you may live the sport life at its best.
Okay. Now I want to make sure I understand this. So after high school, you said you take a test, you go into medical school, and
Yeah.
then you go into the residency. You became the team doctor for Torino while you were completing your residency. Is that correct?
Not completely, because during the residency, you
Mhm.
may start and follow some teams. So I became one of the doctors of the youth teams of the club for the under 18 and under 19, which in Italy, the under 19 is already professional. So the players already have a contract, they already earn money. The Primavera, it's called, it's the first division, it's the first youth division, the under 19. I was in my, I think, third year of residency. I started to cooperate with the soccer club, and I started with the young athletes. When I finished my residency, they called me for the first team, and so I started to work for the first team when I was a sport physician.
Okay. What did they see in you to give you the spot for that first team doc?
They appreciated the commitment, because when I'm doing something, I'm really 100% focused on what I do, and so no matter what the timetables are, what they expect me to do, well, I do more, because I enjoy doing more at the beginning. And that's something that I want to say to the listeners, because at the beginning, for instance, when I was with the youth team, where they asked me to go at the pitch just once or twice a week, you don't need to be there every single practice when they are young, because you just need the doctor. There's always the physiotherapist there, and so the doctor is always needed when there's something. So I don't know, there's a couple of injured players, so the physiotherapist will call you. You will go to the pitch, you will examine the athletes, and then you can go away. I mean, there's no need for you to stay there all the time. But since I enjoyed, because I told you that my sport was basketball, but when I got into soccer, I liked it very much, because at the end, it's always like sport is so similar. I mean, you may change sport, but the sports rules are always the same, and the mechanism of sports are always very similar. First year, instead of going there just once a week, I was there all the time, and they asked me to just be there for the home games, but I wanted to follow the team, and so I went for the away games as well. And so the first thing is that when they see that you really love what you're doing, and that you do much more than what is requested, then I think that's what they liked the most. So the director of the youth sector was told that I was there all the time, that the athletes and the coaches and the staff appreciated me, and they liked the way I used to stay, to communicate with them, to always be positive. And
So it's fair to say that I know you grew up loving basketball. I think soccer is your number one sport at this point right now.
well, right now I'm 100% committed with soccer. So,
All
well, yes.
right.
As I told you yesterday, I'm still the doctor for the under 18 national basketball
Mhm.
team.
Yeah, I
So
saw that.
From time to time, I leave my soccer shoes and I wear the basketball shoes. But most of the year and most of the season, I'm with the soccer team. Yes.
So, since you've been the team doctor, I know you talked about at times you'll go to the field, assess a player if there's a player injury, but then you can leave. Take me through what like a typical day is like, given that you are working with other athletes. Do you also work in a clinic? What's your
Yes.
day like?
I'm pretty lucky because the stadium where the Torino FC play is just a 10 minutes ride by car from my house. The soccer pitch where the team practices is just 15 minutes away, and it's very close to the stadium. Inside the stadium there is the Sports Medicine Institute, which is a big private clinic for all sports, and that's where I work. And it's just 200 meters. It's a 2 minutes ride from the Torino Football Club pitch. So, and it's the place where all the athletes and the first team as well go for the examinations, the MRIs, for the ultrasound, for the physicals at the beginning of the season. So it's very easy for me to go to come and go because it's so close and it's perfect. And that's the place where I stay when I'm not with the team. My day is my working day. We usually have practice around 11 in the morning, so I have to be at the football pitch around 9:30. So an hour and a half before the beginning of the practice, because the athletes have to be there 1 hour before the practice. So I always have to be there before the arrival of the athletes, so that I can be there. And so if they have any problem, they can come to the medical room and they can be visited. If necessary, I can go to the coach and tell him that some players are not available, or that some players may need some to just do a part of the practice, and then some therapies and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when the practice is over, I stay there for an hour more, because at the end of the practice, the players may have therapies, but they may need the medical advice. And after that, well, I just have lunch, and I usually start with the clinical examinations at the sports medicine clinic. Okay. So, and there I have like trauma examinations, ultrasound, because I do ultrasounds on athletes. And then we also have some nutritional consultations that depends on the athletes. You can do many things, many different things, all related to sports.
Uh-huh. So what time do you head home?
Well,
I
can tell you that today, well, we are having this interview at 9 p.m. and I was home like 8:45 p.m. So I had my daily consultation. So I had the practice this morning, and then from 2 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. I had my consultations.
Now, you talked about how, obviously, your role as a doctor, you're in communication with the coaches to give them updates about players. Initially, when you started working with the first team, what were some challenges that you noticed, maybe per se, when you were communicating with the coach, say that a player is not quite ready or things like that?
Communication in my field, in sports medicine, when you deal with a professional team, it's probably the most important thing. I can tell you it's even more important than clinical skills, because if you don't have some clinical skills, and you may not have you may not know anything, because when you are a sports medicine doctor, there are so many things that can happen. But you can always ask to the top doctors in that particular field. So if I don't know, we had like a concussion a couple of weeks ago. So I had to deal on the field with the concussion and with all the protocols. But then I could take the player to the neurologist, to the neuroradiologist that gave their advice. And so when I don't know something, I can ask to somebody that is better than me in that particular field. And so I may lack that clinical skill, but it's not a problem. It's not an issue. While if you are not able to communicate, then you can't be a sports medicine physician working with professional players. 70% of my work is coordinating the communication between the medical part and the players with the coaches, with the athletic trainer, and you may understand that it's not just the medical part which matters, because you may have an injured player, but if you have like a very important game in 3 weeks, well, the coach will ask you to have that player, even though the times are like short. And so you have to do your best to understand that also the games are important. And so you are a doctor, but you can't simply say, okay, he has an ankle sprain, he will be out for a month. Because if you can work hard and have the player on the pitch again in 3 weeks, well, that you have to do that. And you have to understand that if you don't do that, the coach may have something to tell you.
What if the player isn't ready in 3 weeks? What is the conversation you got to have with the coach? Is it the
Well,
physiotherapist that's going to have it, or the doctor?
The last word belongs to the doctor. But, you can't fight all the battles. You have to decide which battles are worth fighting. So I will try and explain. For instance, the concussion may have very serious consequences. But when you think that the player is at risk, well, you have to defend till death your choice. And so if the player has to stay out, he will stay out. But for instance, if we are talking about an ankle sprain, I may tell the coach, okay, he will not be 100%, he may be 80% ready, but you may choose. I mean, of course, if he's not 100% ready, there's a risk for a re-injury, but it's not a big deal. I mean, you may decide. I always talk to the athlete, I always talk to the coach. The important is to communicate. I mean, because everybody has to be informed of the situation. Once that they are informed, the player may say, okay, I know that I'm not 100% ready. I know that there might be a little risk of re-injury, but I want to take the risk.
Okay.
And the coach can decide the same. So the doctor, I mean, that's not a battle I wanna fight till death, because it's not a big deal. I mean, yes, it's a sprained ankle or muscle strains as well. It's the same. The most challenging thing was that I'm one of the youngest first division doctors of Italy, and so when I arrived in the first team, there were some players had the same age than me, and so at the beginning it was not easy having the personality to make clear that I was a doctor, that they had to follow my advice, that even though I was young, I had the skills to help them, because many of them saw me like someone too young, because here usually first division team doctors are like 50 years old, 60 years old, 40 years old when they are young, but not 33 or 32. And so since we are talking about millions of dollars, because every one of our players is worth many millions of dollars, and the stakes are high, it was not easy at the beginning to win their trust.
And how did you win their trust?
Because they saw that I knew what I was talking about. I didn't want to just impose my view, that I just want to give advice. Well, they saw that when they asked me something, I gave them an answer, and then they asked for instance, to the older doctor, and they had the same answer. So they understood that I knew what I was talking about, and then I like to have like a personal relation with the athletes, and so when they understand that you care about them, it's easier to win their trust.
Now, I imagine, just like you mentioned, when I was looking at your profile, I was like, holy crap, he's really young to be working for the first division. Like, when you got that job, did you have some fears at all? Whether that's, am I good enough, or am I going to get fired? Anything like that at all?
Well, I had the chance to have some people, especially a couple of the elder doctors, which really protected me at the beginning, because it's very, very easy to fall from the narrow path that you have to follow. And so I relied on them. They taught me how to stay in a first division team, how to stay inside the locker room, what to do, what not to do. They helped me and they let me make some mistakes because you learn through the mistakes, but always guiding me. And so when you have like, for instance, I had the first doctor was the doctor of the Milan AC, which has been one of the top teams in Europe for a long time, and he won like the Champions League, the World Cup. I mean, so many things. He's one of the best sports medicine team doctors in Italy, and he trusted me, and he put a lot of pressure on me just to help me to grow. So at the beginning, yeah, I was afraid not to be worth of the task.
Okay.
So that's something I thought. Yes.
Besides obviously working with athlete, what's an exciting aspect about working with Torino?
You live like in a golden sphere because football is a very rich sport where you have lots of money. So you have the players are like stars, and when you work with them, you live part of their life. It's not an important thing, but at the beginning, when you ride with them fancy cars and you
So you rode with some of the players, you trusted them to that extent?
well, I do get on very well. You know, being pretty young is helpful because you are almost of the same age of the players. And so when you get on very well with them, I mean, I have players, I'm with players that I'm following for 5 years, for 6 years. So I got to know them very, very well. And they are like friends, and you can hang out, and it's so much fun.
Let's talk about a typical game day. So I want to first find out, what is your job role if they are, say, going for an away game? Are you going with the team? Where do you
So
come
when
into
the
place?
team is all together, we are always with the team. Usually, when you have like the game on Sunday, the team has the practice on Saturday morning, and then we go all together to the hotel. So the team is always sleeps at the hotel the day before the game, even if we are at home. Well, usually the day before you have the practice, then you go to the hotel, then you have dinner, and then you have therapies. And so it's all the massage and the ultrasound and whatever. And so you stay in the physical therapy room with the physiotherapist, so that if the players need anything, you're there. But I mean, you just watch TV and you talk about whatever. It's not. I mean, it's like fun. And then the game day. Well, if the game is at the end of the day, like 8:30, you usually have like a very short practice session where you try some schemes, some tactics. Then you have lunch. The players go to sleep for I don't know, a couple of hours, and then you leave for the stadium. Well, actually, when there's the game, the doctors, unless there's an emergency, they don't have to do much because they already did. So when there's the game, they're available for the players if they need anything. There are many players that need like the anti-inflammatory drugs or the injections. So you're there for that. And then during the game, you're on the pitch, and when they need it, you just step on the pitch and you go and help them.
So you said your clinic that you also treat athletes are near the facility, but when you're gone for an away match, are they pretty understanding? Because I imagine you have to be away from that clinic for a couple of days if it's an away match that's pretty far, right?
Yeah. What's really good for me is that the clinic works so closely with the Torino FC that
Gotcha.
they
Okay.
understand that being there, well, for me, being there, it's also useful for the sports medicine clinic because I can coordinate all the interventions that we need at the clinic. I can help them to organize when the players have to come.
Okay.
So the clinic is very happy that I'm there.
Awesome. Well, that's incredible. Well, what's the most memorable game that you have been a part of with this team?
Well, it's actually a friendly game, but we had that friendly game in Liverpool against the Liverpool FC, which is like one of the top European clubs. And we were in the hotel where the Titanic was built. That
Wow.
that is like the Titanic hotel, which is like the docks where the Titanic had been built,
Uh-huh.
and that was like a made hotel in the recent years, and that had like a charm, and it was fascinating
Wow.
staying there. And then when you go to Anfield, which is the Liverpool stadium, which is like so famous all around the world for people that love soccer, and having all the supporters singing the Liverpool anthem, which is "You'll Never Walk Alone," which is a
Uh-huh.
very very famous anthem, and that was like moving. I mean, it was
Yeah.
incredible, amazing.
That is so cool. So overall, you would say that the scenery, the enthusiasm of the fans. What about the actual game itself? What was it like playing against Liverpool?
Well, when you are just some feet away from some of the best players in the world and you can see them, it's very strange because you're used to watch them on television. You're used to consider them like idols, like stars, like from another planet. And
Mhm.
so it's like, I don't know, have a friendly game with LeBron James when you play basketball.
Mhm.
I mean, it's something like you don't believe it. You don't
Yeah.
believe that you are there and you
Mhm.
can witness something so great.
Yeah. I'm always curious when I ask a lot of the medical professionals that have worked in the Premier League, are they really that fast as they look on TV when they're running, the
Yeah,
players?
they're even faster because you're closer to them. And so on the TV, which is pretty far, don't actually realize how fast, how strong they are.
Uh-huh.
It's like playing against Ronaldo. I don't know if you know him,
I
but
do.
so Ronaldo actually plays for Juventus,
Mhm.
which is the other team from Turin. And I had the chance to see him playing well last season and this season as well. And you understand why he's one of the best players in the world.
And why do you think he is?
You have a gift. You have a gift because he has a talent that 99.9% of the other top players don't have. But what really makes the difference is the mental approach because he's 30, 34, 35, I don't know. But
About, yeah.
in he's every single day he is there to practice, to improve, to he's always focused. And I think that that's what is really different.
But I have to ask you, what was the result of that match against Liverpool when you guys played in the friendly?
Well, we lost, I think,
Okay.
3-1. But one of the strange things is that in Italy, the supporters are pretty aggressive. You have lots of violence episodes during the games with clashes against with the different supporters,
Mhm.
the supporter of the different teams. While there, I don't know, there are like families coming to the stadium. Everybody is clapping their hands when they see a good play. And when we scored, there was somebody like poking at me from behind. I just turned and he told me, "Whoa, that was a great goal! Congratulations!" And that I was dumbstruck
Yeah.
because in Italy you have people throwing things at you when
Oh
you
my
when you
God.
score a goal if they are against your team. While there, they just wanted to see football, a good football, they
Uh-huh.
to have fun, and they could also congratulate the opponents when they scored.
Yeah.
So, well, that's something that really changed because at the beginning in England, the soccer was really violent, and then the government took actions, and now it changed.
So given the aggressiveness, do you guys have a good amount of security after games and even just taking you home or?
Yeah, we always have like the police cars in front of us, behind us.
Even
Where
as you're going home, like say from the stadium?
No, not at home. No, we have
Okay.
always the police escort till the stadium, till our cars.
Okay. I see.
So, and then unless there are some particular situations, but usually when there's the derby, so the game against two teams of the same city, like Juventus and Torino, which is like a very, very difficult game where the supporters are very angry because everyone wanna win, and so there are frequently clashes and riots against the supporters of the different teams, and so there the police may escort you at home also.
So when you're not traveling with the team, where's a nice place that you have traveled to for vacation?
We have a few days of vacation. Now, when the season is over, we have like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I know that for American standards, 3 weeks is a very, very long vacation period.
You're right.
But here in Europe and in Italy as well, regular people have at least a month and a half or 2 months of vacation. So a couple of weeks or 3 weeks is a very, very short vacation time. Well, this summer I went to Naples and Rome, and then I spent some days at the seaside in Liguria, which is the region just beside France, beside the Côte d'Azur, the French Riviera, just beside, and where I have like a little apartment, and I used to spend there some days whenever I can.
So, what would you say is the biggest thing you have learned along your journey to working as a sports medicine doctor?
You're always there with your mind. I mean, there are just a few occasions when you can really switch your mind off and do whatever you want. And so what I learned is that if you want to stay there, you got to be ready to commit yourself totally.
Now, you said that sometimes you have to switch your mind off. As much as you love your job, I saw that you like to meditate. What type of strategies do you use to just shut your brain off and take a break from soccer?
One of the main things about meditation is that you learn to focus on the present and not on the past or on the future. And so when you try and switch your mind off, you just try and focus on the spot where you are, not thinking about the problems you had but 10 minutes before, and not thinking about the problems you will have in 10 minutes. You go out for a walk, you go out for a meal that you like, and you just chill out with your friends, and that's all.
Uh-huh. If there's something you could have done differently along the path to becoming a doctor, what would it have been?
I think that I went abroad when I had to go abroad because I couldn't find the same things here. During my residency school, I'm actually convinced that I did the best by staying in Turin because I could start to stay with all the teams that we have, because we have all the sports we need here in my city. And so I actually think that I planned pretty well my path for the time being. Then I will see. It's more the future that I will, I don't know, I'm in doubt about.
Well, I think you should come to the state.
Well, I thought about coming to the States because as I told you, I had a girlfriend in the States, but for a European doctor, becoming a physician in the States is really, really difficult because you have to study again so many things that you've been studying, but in the past years, and it's not easy. It takes at least a couple of years to get prepared for the exams that you have to take in order to become a doctor in the States, even though you've already studied so many years here.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that is probably the same for doctors in the States to work in Italy? Do you think it'd be that hard?
Not the same. It's easier for you to come here than for us to go there. It's
Interesting.
unfair.
That is unfair. Well, what's next for you? I mean, you're working for a top league in Italy. Any future goals?
Yes, the Olympic Games.
Awesome.
That's the top for a professional, for a sport professional, I think. And it's not about money, because you don't want to go there for money, but because it's the top of the mountain. I mean, it's where the top athletes in the world are. That's what I hope I will get someday.
Well, that was incredible. Thank you so much. Hope to touch base with you in the future.
Thank you for having me.